Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jolly SEO's TLDR. And today we have Schneider of Trio SEO. So Steven, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited you're here. For those listening, Steven, you run an agency now, but you used to not be an agency man. You used to be your own business producing media sites. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of had the wild west era of the affiliate sites back in the day and kind of the Amazon gold rush. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I like the analogy with the Wild West. It does feel like the frontier has disappeared over there. You know, we're recording this at the start of 2025. The last year has been, for some people, really brutal. For some people, really positive if they pivoted and adapted. And it feels like you've pivoted and adapted. So I mean, I don't want to be all doom and gloom and focus on the negative, but we kind of got to get into like what happened. But then I think it'd be really useful for people to hear like how your skills transferred, just how transferable all that really is.
Oh yeah. Yeah, where to start? Yeah, so I guess kind of just taking it back a step. I didn't even know like what SEO was in college. I had never even heard of it. Good friend of mine and kind of like ex-business partner and yeah, just great guy overall. Kind of like discovered SEO back in like 2008 or nine, started building like these micro niche sites. And then we were in college together and he kind of like disclosed that he was a business owner in like a PowerPoint slide or something like that. I was like, yeah, right. Like what business do you have on the site? Expecting it to be like, selling t-shirts or something like that. And he pulled up these websites and it's like, yeah, I own these websites. And like, this is how it works. Like they're called affiliate and I do it through SEO and I create content, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like shocked. I like and remember getting chills because at that time he's like, a sophomore in college and he's making like over 10, 15 grand a month through these sites. And I was like, why am I going to college? Why are you going to college? Like, let's just do this full time. And long story short, we ended up doing that. But yeah, I kind of just became obsessed with this idea. I mean, I was on I don't have a plan post college. I'm going to sell my soul to corporate and I'm probably going to go, work in a VC or something like that. I was like in finance. So we're just going to do finance, MBA, corporate, retire. Thankfully, that wasn't the path. But yeah, it was a crazy journey. And I kind of used all of that to figure out what SEO was, how to build sites, how to rank them, how to create content, kind of all the nuts and bolts. And just through years of practice and publishing thousands of articles, kind of have that skill set now, kind of help clients do the same thing.
I have so much respect for, so in college, I was a dishwasher. I did eventually make it to supervisor of the year for the record, but
Nice.
no, really, and I also have a lot of respect for my own personal story through my family. Like nothing wrong with blue collar, like work ethic. Uh, but it's been a long journey for me to learn how to be a business owner. And so your former business partner, you're still on great terms with, it sounds like, as a
Oh
friend.
yeah. Like I'm hanging out with him like Saturday or we go golfing like once a week. Yeah. Like we're still like best friends. We talk almost every other day.
I mean, that's even better, right? Like I'm in business with one of my best friends. We've known each other half our life. So we just got off a call with him, right? Morgan Taylor. So, but I just, that kind of blows me away because I, at the time, was like, wow, look at like the waiters who have their own car and can get a job at a restaurant and make 25 an hour. But this guy was like, oh, no, no, I have multiple websites that I manage making 10,000 plus dollars a month.
Yeah.
I would never have crossed my mind to do that in college.
It was crazy, yeah, and that's kind of the thing too, is like because back in the day, and still it is now, but kind of the secret sauce of why that was so lucrative because it was very similar to real estate. And thanks to people like Empire Flippers and FlipUp, you have a cash flowing healthy blog, and you can sell that for 30 to 45x whatever that profit margin is. So if your site's making $1,000 a month, that's now a 30, $40,000 website. And people, that was where it really clicked. Because I was like, okay, $1,000 a month, great. Like that's a no small feat in the affiliate world by any means. But you start dealing with tens and hundreds and potentially millions of dollars, and that's where the game changes. And then that becomes an acquisition strategy and a buy and hold or a flip or what are we doing now? There's a whole new game of business that's unlocked when you deal with that kind of world of flipping and buying online businesses, which is kind of where that was the flip phone game.
Okay, so I think we'll have to put the through line to like how life works today in agency, but next in the story, you were also still in the game during when things got really overheated, like the TrioSEO, the Purge, like these kind of like the aggregator, right? Were you still operating during that time?
So we were at our peak when pretty much all of hell broke loose, for better or worse terms. So we had 3 Black Swan events pretty much just crush us, and they all happened in 30 days. We
Oh my
had
God.
the Google product review update. So we had the algorithm update that came out specifically targeting affiliate websites. And then we had Amazon had cut their commission tier rates in half
Yes,
for
that was
affiliate.
huge.
Yeah. And then COVID was also that same week, which shook the economy no matter what. So we had at that time, we had about, I was like 35, 40 websites between e-commerce and affiliates. And we had just broke the 100K per month mark in the business. So like we were like on top of the world. I mean, margins in the affiliate space were so high, like just crazy high. So we were like, nothing can go wrong. And then all of it crashed and burned. And I was just like, wow, this is nothing this for certain. And we kind of knew that it was a short-term play. Like we didn't think it was going to last forever. It was definitely a gold rush feeling, but we thought we had 5 years. We thought we had 7 years to plan. It wasn't like we had a year. So yeah, just kind of like put things in perspective. We had to kind of become our feet.
Yeah, and so when did you I actually should have pulled this up and done my research better. So for the audience, we get the benefit of working out together a little bit now, Steven and I, but
Yeah.
I'm still just meeting you as a person. When did you make the shift and really make the I'm imagine very painful decision like, hey, we've gotta move on. Like that was a cool
Yeah.
chapter. Take those skills, those learnings. Or when was that and roughly?
So I left that company and parted ways with them. So we had another partner. So it's the three of us. It was actually the first trio. I know what I always joke about, but
Oh, that's
um, yeah. So we was my friend's original business partner and I, and the three of us worked together. So I let them kind of like break off and do their thing. They owned some like bigger sites in the portfolio that I didn't have access to because they had started them before I joined. So they kind of like absorbed that piece of the puzzle, and then they kind of like pressed on and they're still doing their thing. And I kind of just like took a full year off and was just chilling and kind of like trying to figure out what I wanted to do and experimented and dabbled. And then kind of decided that I was like, well, like I have to do something. I might as well get a job. So that's kind of why I landed on LinkedIn, was looking for a job and just kind of randomly discovered the content side of LinkedIn and kind of like what we know nowadays is like creating content and like the organic reach. I mean, back in the day, this was December of 2023, 2022, so 2 years ago. And that's kind of like I met Connor. And then through Connor, I met Nathan. I just started like posting on LinkedIn. Didn't really know why, but I just had this gut feeling that it was like the right thing to do, kind of the right
yeah,
thing.
you're killing it. I look to your profile when I wanna do a little, like, sabotage. I'm like, "Fuck, well, how's Steven doing it? I can't get my shit together."
I mean, I'm nowhere near atomic readers. I mean, Connor's crushing it, Nathan's crushing it, but I mean, thanks. But yeah, it's all kind of just like, yeah, I just kind of felt like it was this right place, right opportunity, time. And then just through small talk, like, I hopped on a call with Connor and we hit it off and then met Nate and we clicked. And then Connor and I started talking more through DMs. And he's like, hey, like, here's my number. Feel free to text me, whatever. So I was looking at a startup for like 6 months and I just hated every second of it. Like, I just dreaded going to work, hated the commute. I felt like I was like essentially building someone else's dream. And that as an entrepreneur just like crushed me. And my wife was like, you need to make a change. You need to like do something. Like, this is not you. And so I quit on the spot and I had no plan. And I just was like, I will die before like I do this again. I'll make it work. And that's kind of what I did. I just pretty much started doing LinkedIn as a service and consulting because I was so ingrained in the trying to master LinkedIn and what it was. And then I kind of realized I was like, okay, SEO could probably be a thing because I already had that skill set. Like, let's experiment there. And then I hit up Connor and I just told him like, hey, this is what my situation is. I bailed on them. Like, if you and they have anything brewing in the background, I'd love to, partner on something or at least like collaborate in some sense. And he's like, yeah, we're not really like looking for any opportunities right now. Like, if you have an idea, like we're always open to ideas, like, and open to chatting. And I said, well, why don't you have an SEO agency? Like, this just makes sense within your brand. Like, they sold Free Up and they now have a growing portfolio of businesses. And Connor's obviously like one of the top SEOs on LinkedIn. And I was like, this just makes sense. Like, what's the holdup here? And he's like, oh no, we have it all mapped out. We have like a 20-page document of like competitor analysis, pricing strategies, branding, like the whole pretty much playbook of what we would have done, but we don't have an operator or someone who can step into this role. And so that's kind of where I was like, well, I can do this, no problem. Like, I pretty much ripped the key Airtable setup that I had from the last company, with my partner's kind of permission and just like brought that entire process over. We were managing 40 sites and about 300 to 400 articles a month with the previous setup. So I was like, well, instead of our own sites, it's just clients, and let's just build a client portal. That's the only difference. And I was like, if you guys can find some beta clients, like I can build this in like 2 weeks and we can just start. That's what we did.
That's killer. It's so similar. We used to be Jolly Content, and yeah, it's just not that different. I'm
Yeah.
curious though, you've been around, I've been in the SEO communities for a decade or so. There's always the type that says, I would never serve clients. Like I'm an affiliate site owner for life. Like I would never want to serve.
Yeah.
I myself, when I stopped working, I told you, after my glamorous dishwasher career, but like in-person service jobs, I was like, I don't want to do service, but we're a service agency. Then there's the other side where they're like, I would never want to own my own sites. I just want to provide services. And then there's people who seem to actually jump back and forth like every 3, 4, or 5 years. For for you, I guess two-part question. Would you go back to being your own media owner, jump out of services? Have you thought about that at all? Or is it still maybe, but that's like you're just getting in the thick of it. But the second, I think the meat of this is what's I know a lot is so similar, but like what has been just unexpectedly different? Obviously, there's a lot you'd expect to be different, but what has been unexpectedly different managing, whether it's the campaign itself or finances or I don't know.
Yeah. So first part is like I don't think I would go back because the game has changed so much. And what I mean by that is like back in the day, you didn't there wasn't to grow a successful affiliate site, and by successful I mean, 2 to 5 grand a month, a six-figure site. You didn't need backlinks. Like this will surprise you. We never built one backlink across all 40 sites to get
Just all
to
content.
a seven, all content. No social media, no newsletters, no backlinks, just really, really good SEO content and term linking on like site structures. So that does not happen nowadays. Like it's impossible. That's one of them. The difference toward like branding and quality and eat and like all those sort of things, you can't do that with 40 sites, nor can you do it well with 2 or 3 sites. So
Especially startup. I mean, the budget.
they're working with Trio. Exactly. It's like you have to go all in on something for a couple of years to see it work, which I'm sure you have the kind of same mentality. It's like you have to be invested in it from
Well,
day
and
one.
you've seen your clientele at Trio, I'm sure, is maybe not exactly overlap with ours, but unfortunately, the affiliate part of our clientele is all but completely gone. I mean, maybe a few very large players still, but used to be 30, 40%, and maybe we've got 1 or 2 out of 70 at this point.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, and it's brutal to see. Like we did an article for a client solely because it just like fit in as like a mid funnel piece of content, and it was like a best XYZ product article. And I told the team, I was like, don't you dare put one link in this article. Don't link to Amazon. I was like at the top of the article, put a net leak disclaimer that says this is not an affiliate article. We do not make money from this. Like,
Yeah.
make sure that this is like covered and like the article crushed. But like nowadays it's so sensitive. I was like, it's one as a test. If that works well, like maybe we'll do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But like,
And you were like afraid you just tanked the whole site as
so no, I'm
a
like, I don't know. I'm like, we'll watch this closely, but stuff like that, where it's like it's not worth the risk to reward, I guess, to your first question.
yeah.
I loved it. We have often joked about that back in the day was the quickness and how agile we are and were back in the day. We could, you know, we would cold outreach. We would send thousands of cold emails to people after like reviewing their sites, finding every content, and then just hit them up and like, hey, ever considered selling your site for 25 bucks? Like, just see what kind of people will reply. And we'd be able to take a site, buy it, acquire within like, a week or so, the NDA, flip it, and like get everything out and running for content. We'd already had our content strategy mapped out and pretty much build it in like 90 days. Just hammer down like 30 articles a month, get it on the site, internally let us in. You just can't do that nowadays. Like with how Google responds to content and the size, and from a client perspective, there's no way you could do that. Like there's so many hoops you have to jump through, and brand guidelines and tones and checks and balances and blah, blah, blah.
You're making it sound easy though, but I tried this. Really great guy in the space. I don't know if you would have heard of him, Shane Dutka.
That was from there.
Yeah, he's on a pod. We'll put out the episode shortly. He invited Morgan and I to join him on a site. We were going to be the links and then manage the content. He was going to be the strategy and had the content team in place that he was going to hand off to us. Even so, I have a lot of respect for what you guys did because you're making it sound easy. We had to sheepishly exit that and say like, Shane, you got to take this back. We don't want to screw up what you got going on because this is too much for us. We're not going to see this through the way that it has to be done at that speed that you just described. In that time, it had to
Right.
have been done at that speed, and that was not an easy job.
It's not. And I think that the difference too is that the people that we're working with now, they're businesses. They're not affiliate sites. And like those two things are important to separate too, is that we're working with like legit companies, not insert XYZ domain name here. And that's 99% best XYZ articles. And they're just two completely different personas, two completely different ICPs and how people think about that. But it's just yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird skill set from back in the day to be able to have that. And like, I always joke that we were the jack of all trades, master of none. So my funny story, my partner and I, spur of the moment, got free tickets to do a golf trip in Mexico at this like all-inclusive resort. So we went there and did that, but we didn't know anybody. We were the youngest people there. It was like a 50 plus retreat. And because we had known so many affiliate sites and done so many research for like Empire Flippers or whatever, we like could like talk to somebody and figure out what their hobby was and then know what keywords would pretty much like sync with that conversation. So if someone's like, yeah, I'm a fisherman. I'm like, oh, do you have the newest spinning reel? I don't know what that is. Well, like I know what the keywords are. Like a hunter would come across or like an HVAC guy would come out the corner. We have all this like just
Wow, yeah,
all that
that's
types of stuff. It's so funny.
pretty hilarious. It's interesting working because we're in marketing at the end of the day as
Right.
SEOs. And do you run into this in your personal life as well, day to day, where people try to tell you something, and you're like, you're only telling me that because of this mechanism that is affecting your consumption. Like you, like, just so you know, like you're, and I'm not saying I don't fall prey to it myself all the time, but like, it's just, there's these bigger forces that the average consumer, I don't know if they just don't want to be aware of, but I'm pretty sure they're not aware of. And that,
Oh yeah. No, it was like back in the day, it was one of my favorite things to do is like, have a couple of drinks under my belt and then like tell people what I did because they were just blown away by the fact that like what the affiliate was or what an affiliate link was or how that works with Amazon. And like, it's just such a crazy world that no one really knows goes on, especially now with like Forbes or New York Times or like Good Housekeeping, whatever the site is, it's like, crushing the serve. And those are
yeah,
really
you
important
still
things.
have to do it, right? Like people are like, "Oh, I Googled this thing." And you're like, "Well, what website?" And now it's even worse, right? Like you just said, like
Yeah.
even if that's a household name website, you're like, "Okay, well, what section of that website were you actually on though?" Because so yeah, very tricky. I'm still curious if I can pry. What look, there's so much different about
Oh, yes, we always have an
provider.
open book.
Yeah, but what and I don't know the dynamic. You guys are a trio, right? So that's pretty cool. And I think that could help some people listening are like, yeah, all good for you, Steven, but it's a lot to manage doing an agency.
Yeah.
For me
No,
personally anyway.
no, it's hard. It's one of the hardest things I've done. Like there's no easy day in my life except for when I have conversations like this, which I love.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is the easy part, right? Oh, we get to talk shop. So how did you guys decide to do it? Do you own a certain area of the agency? Connor owns a certain agency, part of the agency, Nathan, like in terms of duties, or are you guys
Yeah.
just kind of overlapping in a bunch of places?
Yeah. So obviously I'm kind of like the sole operator. I just make sure that kind of like everyone knows what they're doing. I do a lot of the client communication, any client notes, emails. Like I'm kind of a or project manager in a way. We luckily have someone who's kind of like going to be stepping into my role or that role in the next 6 months, kind of like a long form training to take a lot of that off my plate. But anything that has to do with like status 1 to status 12 of our content pipeline, I know everything about it, what client, blah, 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 blah. Nate is in sales, VP of sales. He's just a networking machine. Like I don't do spend much time with Nate, but he's
Never met him.
one of a kind. Oh, really? Yeah, you hop on a networking call, then it's great. But I mean, the guy's done close to, I think, 1,000 podcasts. No joke at this point. Since they started Free Up and next to that a couple years ago. And yeah, he knows everyone and such a likable guy and can't say a bad thing about him. So that's great for him. He's a perfect salesperson for that. And then, yeah, Connor's definitely on the marketing side. I'm kind of more of the operations front within the marketing realm. So like making sure that our newsletter is always going or like our website is obviously functional and how the automations work and making sure that like finding anything he's kind of like my right hand guy in that front, and then really helpful in hiring and kind of making sure that like, hey, Connor, I need a insert role here, and he'll just like go find that person, like vet them, and like do all the kind of. He's really good at also finding good cultural fits for how that person will fit, making sure they're not going to be awkward or like jump on calls and not want to, turn on their camera. Like they have to be able to mesh well with the entire team. So, but yeah, we have a growing team, but the partners definitely kind of, know where we kind of overlap, and it kind of isn't, it's blurred lines at times, but we help each other out when we can.
That's awesome. Look, we've been running a little long. I try to keep these episodes kind of short, very easy to consume. I do love to finish out with one question, which is, what did I forget to ask? What didn't we talk about that you're like, oh, I came into this really thinking we talked about this and we haven't hit this yet. What do you think we missed?
Oh, gee, that's a good question. I don't know. I figured we talked backlinks just because of the nature of both the companies, but I'm surprised we didn't. I don't know. I feel like that's an entirely different can of worms. But yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
we could try to jump into it briefly or we could save it for another episode. You guys are working with us a little bit. We'd love to work with you guys. It seems like two different specialties, content and backlinks. And from an agency perspective, maybe we could keep it with the agency context here. Uh, why why haven't we started doing content, or why haven't you guys started doing backlinks? That's the question I want to ask you. Like, what's stopping us operationally, or stopping you guys operationally, or is it something else? What's the
Oh, we're coming for you for sure, Greg.
okay? There you go.
No, I'm kidding. No, so this is actually something that Connor and Nate are really, really good at that I'm not, is staying focused. And we kind of have this like internal joke that like every time I, you know, throw out a new idea or a new revenue stream or whatever that looks like, they're like, nope, no way. That's not happening. Focus. And that's just kind of how it's been. We purposefully spent the entire first year only on content, like not even outsourcing or working with people like you for backlinks. Yeah, strictly because that was a distraction. And we would have to build out, processes or systems or whatever, like just even communicate with your team. And that takes away from the core focus. So that's kind of just how we treat it. It's like we do one thing, we do it really well. And if we ever need to tap into other people, whether it's you guys or technical SEO or CRO, insert another thing here, that's kind of how we've always operated. But curious to hear your side.
I didn't want to believe the niche down and your business will get easier, more successful advice for years. And I think there's certainly, if you're new in general to an industry, a lot of wisdom in just trying a lot of things. But for the people we're talking to with your kind of journey, where you've been an operator, like you actually have expertise, like we have expertise in just one thing, then there's a lot of wisdom to what, Connor and Nate are saying. Like, no, we're good at this thing. Let's do this thing that we're really good at, because for us, it's scary. What if backlinks definitively, finally are not worth anything? I don't think it's happening, but it it's possible. And really, more importantly, it's what does the market think is happening, right? That's more important. So
I'd say there's probably more of a conversation around the content side being more at risk than backlinks. But
interesting. Just with the AI proliferation and commoditization.
because I think yeah, at least from what I know, like, Google's never gonna not want to rank an authoritative site if everything's done 100% white hat by the book. And content is increasingly more competitive as industries become more saturated. So the game to get content and quality content to rank is always going to increase at an exponential rate compared to acquiring backlinks. But that's just also my unbiased view. I don't know anything about what you guys do. So I'm sure there's a lot to unpack there, but that's kind of how I look at like the development of where the industry is shaping. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how things take shape.
Yeah, and that's certainly my biggest learning being in an agency is you are not willing to adapt to where the industry is heading. I mean, we see them. There's very public bankruptcies, at least LinkedIn posts saying anybody have a home for my team, these kind of things. So certainly not without its challenges, but really cool your journey, man. And I know this is just like a snapshot of it. 20-25 minutes ain't gonna do it justice. But I appreciate you taking the time and coming on here and sharing this. Looking forward to more people with similar stories being able to resonate with this.
Yeah. Thanks for it. It was a good chat. Hope we can do it again soon.
Thanks.